Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Jorge Rico, co-chair of the Business School Advisory Council, a member of the Board of Trustees at St. Thomas University, and a person who was integrally related to my hire. So thank you, Jorge, for that.
I can't pronounce his name, but I can hire.
Jorge is a triple bobcat. He graduated from St. Thomas University in 1986 with a computer science degree. His wife, Isabel, is also an alumna, and his daughter, Jessica, graduated from our school, specifically our School of Business, in 2012. Jorge is a co-founding partner of MBF Healthcare Partners and has served as managing director of the firm since its inception. He has directed MBF's development and manages all aspects of MBF's investment activities. His background includes 25 years of progressively responsible positions in healthcare companies, specializing in the development and implementation of strategic plans which create value. Prior to joining MBF, Mr. Rico was the Chief Operating Officer of Ramsay Healthcare Incorporated, a publicly held psychiatric hospital hospital company, and had been Executive Vice President of Administration and a key member of the management team of Ramsay HMO Incorporated, the second largest publicly held HMO in Florida during the early 1990s. In 1994, RMO was sold to United Healthcare for approximately $500 million, representing a return on investment capital of more than tenfold. Mr. Rico remained with UHC as a key member of the senior management team and assisted the company in becoming the largest HMO in the state of Florida. Mr. Rico is a member of the board of directors of Navarro Discount Pharmacies, NutriForce Nutrition, Omni Home Care, he's actually the chairman of Omni Home Care, and Simply Healthcare Holdings, among other organizations. He holds a master's degree in business administration, specializing in healthcare administration from the University of Miami. It is my distinct pleasure once again to introduce you and welcome Mr. Rico to the podium.
That was awesome. There's so many things in there that I didn't even know I did, but thank you. So welcome, students, fellow alumni, faculty, administration, fellow Board of Trustee members, and our business community. Today, I have the distinct pleasure and honor to introduce and welcome our speaker, Mike Fernandez. Mike currently serves as chairman of MBF Healthcare Partners, a private equity firm that focuses on investing in healthcare companies. Throughout Mike's 25-year career, he has started, acquired, built, and sold multiple companies, monetizing over $1.5 billion to himself and to his investors. Mike is not only one of the most successful healthcare entrepreneurs in the country, but he is also a true and dear friend of St. Thomas University. The Fernandez family presence is felt all around our great campus. Mike's wife, Constance, is a fellow University Board of Trustee member. Mike's daughter, Michelle, is currently attending the law school at St. Thomas University, and Mike himself received an honorary doctorate degree from St. Thomas University in 2012. And of course, the Fernandez family name is on the Fernandez Family Center for Leadership and Wellness. Just as we at St. Thomas University have experienced Mike's great generosity, Mike has also contributed significantly to multiple charitable organizations, including parochial schools across the country, the Early Childhood Initiative Foundation, the United Way, La Liga Contra Cancer, Miami Children's Hospital, Jackson Memorial Hospital, and Baptist Hospital, just to name a few. Centered to Mike's philanthropy is giving back to improve education and health to children and young adults. This year, Mike was awarded the prestigious J. Molina Award by the Beacon Council, which recognizes people and businesses for their significant contribution to our community, corporate citizenship, leadership, and success in their industry. Mike sets an incredible example for all of us to follow. Not only is he a successful businessman and entrepreneur, but as an individual, he has leveraged his success and has given back unselfishly and unconditionally to his community. So without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you a great friend of St. Thomas University and a great friend of mine, Mike Fernandez.
George, you said some things I did not even know. I guess that is this on? I guess that it's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be here, especially because of the type of students that St. Thomas serves and the kind of people that come here. They're people that have set out to become relevant in life. The decision to be here, even in this auditorium or in this school, is a decision that indicates that you want to make a difference. I will tell you some things that most people don't know about. And I don't know if any of you guys, of the students, attended the events at my home a month ago or so. Were any of you here there? I have 1, 2, 3. So we try to do whatever we can to help out and guide young people. So a month ago, and we try to do this about once a month or whenever we can have somebody good that we can have a talk with, we invite students from St. Thomas and other schools around Miami-Dade County. We had 89 students at the house, and we had as a guest speaker Andy Garcia. And the challenge with Andy, and I had to keep telling him over and over again, great friends at Andy, they don't want to hear about The Godfather. They do not want to hear about Ocean 11, 12, 11, 13, 14, 15. They want to hear about the days you were selling stockings. They want to hear about the days when you were in Mexico with your dad, and you're walking down the street, and you cover the right, and he covered the left, and you were knocking on doors selling socks. That's what they want to hear about when you were waiting on tables. Because people have this idea that getting to be a movie star or getting to be anywhere, it's real easy. It comes with a series of sacrifices and challenges. And I have yet meet someone who has had a high level of success who did not go down the road of sacrifices and adversity. Sacrifice and adversity are necessary companions on the road to success. It doesn't come easy. So in these lectures, and we've had Pat Riley there, we've had Jeb Bush there, we've had friends of ours that are commonly known there speaking to young people. And it's interesting what their reaction is. And at the last meeting, I think, those of you who were there was a young man, I think he was from FIU, which is another little school down the road. There's another guy from FIU, and he walks through our front door and down the side of the house to the tiki hut by the bay. Our house is near Roger's old house. Roger's an old neighbor and a board member for many years in St. Thomas, to the tiki. And before Andy arrived, I said, can I talk to you guys in general? Can I answer any questions from you? And one young man from FIU said, yes. Can we have a tour of your house? And I said, absolutely yes. But there's only one condition. You have to have a tour of my first house first. See, my first house was above a used bottle warehouse on a dirt street in Cuba. It wasn't this house. If you go to that house, and the day will come that you will go to that house, then I'll show you this house. Because I don't want you to walk out of here thinking that I was born in this house or that I inherited this house. I went through a great deal to get to this house. We want to have those talks that focus on adversity. So I had to continually bring Andy back to talk about your socks, talk about their stockings. I will tell you about some adversity that I've met throughout my life that has shaped who I am. And by the way, I would not have changed one single one of them. Well, yeah, I guess the first one I would change. I was at best a C student in high school. What can I tell you? Roger and I went to the same high school in New York. It was if it wasn't the Jesuits hitting me behind the head, It was the military guys having me do the quadrangle upstairs marching after 3 o'clock. I think Father Dominuco said that I still hold the record for the most detentions in that school, something I'm not proud of. So I could have done better in doing that. I never graduated from college. So those of you that are here, you've already accomplished a lot more than I have. I didn't have the discipline that you have to be paying the price that you're paying. So if I got to where I am, a C student, 1 semester of college, imagine where you can get to if you pay the price, if you set your mind, if you don't let anyone define you. Some of us pay a higher price. I've burned through 2 marriages. I'm not very proud. My daughter's in school here. She's in a classroom right across that hall. And after I was divorced the first time, I said, I do not want to go through another divorce again because I did not want my second family to go through what my first children went through, except that it wasn't only my choice. It was also my wife's choice. After 10 years, she said, you work too hard. I never see you. You're always traveling. Time to part ways. So if I regret something it was very difficult that second time because I knew what was the outcome. But it made me better in the sense that I knew that I had to devote more time to them. I knew that I had to spend more time with them. I had to be closer with them to the point that after the divorce, both the children from that marriage came to live with me by their choice. 3 years later, I met a wonderful lady in the middle of a business transaction where I was selling a division of a company. And the buyer was a company from Michigan. And I never believed in love at first sight, except the moment she walked into that room. And it hit me like a thunderbolt. And I'm having a business conversation. She's a board member of this company, so she's on the right. The CEO is in front of me. There are lawyers on the left. And about 10 minutes into this conversation, I said to the CEO, this is highly unprofessional on my part. Please forgive me for what I'm about to do. But unless I get this off my chest, I think I'm going to regret it the rest of my life. Now, keep this in mind. I don't drink. Not because I've been through AA. So I've never drank. I've never been to a prom. I've never been to a happy hour. This is not the proper venue, Monsignor, but I've never been to a strip joint. And there was this thing in me that I said, you have to get this out because there's something going on. And I haven't said a word to this lady. And this happens to be this lady right up here. Can you raise your hand so I can embarrass you, Constance? Well, that was 15 years ago. And I said to the CEO, his name was Ken, I said, highly unprofessional, totally chauvinistic on my part, but unless I get this off my chest, I'm going to regret it. Excuse me, are you married? And she is turned 5 shades of purple. And she goes like this from under the table, pulls out her hand, she points at her wedding band, she goes, yes. Oh, I'm sorry, she never said yes, she just pointed at the wedding band. I said, sorry, back to business. So we went back to business. A month later, we were doing the closing, and she's there representing the company. And as I shake her hand, I notice she doesn't have a wedding band on. So I asked everybody to leave, the lawyers, everybody leave the room, except you. And I asked her, where's your wedding band? I thought you were married. And she said, I'm not. I just wear it to stop guys like you from hitting on me. So I've been through adversity. I've been very blessed. We've been married now for 15 years, and I have a wonderful, wonderful son. I've had 2 heart attacks, one at 52, one at 54. And I wouldn't change it. Some of us travel by bus, by car, by subway, by airplane, we commute. I have the good fortune that I have a property that allows me to land my helicopter on it, get picked up, and take me to the airport when I have to travel. So I went through a series of medical exams. 3 weeks go by. Constance doesn't know about it. None of my kids know about it. Go to Boston, come back. Helicopter lands, and there's a gentleman. It's on a Saturday afternoon. Biscayne Bay was as flat as a lake, and there's a gentleman on the kayak, probably 20 feet off a seawall. And as the helicopter takes off this way, I start walking down the path towards my house this way, and this guy on the kayak says, "Hey, you want to trade places?" And I kept walking for a minute, and I put my bags down. I went back to the seawall, and I looked down and I go, "My name is Mike." He goes, "My name is," I don't remember his name, Jerry. My name is Jerry. "You want to trade places?" I said, "I just came back from cancer treatment in Boston. You sure you want to trade places?" I would not change that experience for anything else in my life. I spent 3 weeks knowing I had cancer, and I could not tell my kids because I did not know how bad it was. So I could not tell them. I could not give them clarity. Is it good or is it bad? So until they had the biopsy, and they could not tell. I couldn't tell Constance because both the man who raised her, her stepdad, and her sister died of cancer. So for 3 weeks, it was a great time to reflect of where I have lived. This happened 3 years ago, March, last month. So it was a great time to reflect. And after my first heart attack I did, second heart attack I did, third, the cancer I did, and I would not have changed anything in my life because I am extremely grateful to be in a position to be able to do what I do and to be able to provide what I provide. It is a very special place. And all of the sacrifices are what have defined who I am today. It is living in the little warehouse that gives me the value my appreciation that I have today for life, for relationships. The first business that I started, I was 23. The man that helped me start that business, his name was Arnold Grossman. And I met him washing my hands in a man's bathroom. Hello? Hello? How are you? Fine. He goes away, go away. Next day, about to leave the office, it was 100 North Biscayne Boulevard, and it's raining outside on Biscayne. So I'm waiting for the rain to stop. Same gentleman's there. He goes, "Hello?" I say, "Hello?" He goes, "Hi, my name is Arnold Grossman." I said, "Hi, my name is Mike Fernandez. How are you?" So that began a conversation. "Well, what do you do?" And he says, "Well, I own the building." Okay. "So what do you do?" "I'm a salesman for an insurance company." "Oh, what do you sell?" So we get into this conversation. And he says, "I used to be in the business of managing employee benefits plan, but they were all self-insured, but I never got on the insurance side of the business." And that led to a conversation where 4 months later, he invested $50,000 in me and took a minority position for me to launch my first business, which I sold for $3.5 million 4 years later. I didn't do it for the applause. I do it because you don't know the person next to you, sitting next to you today, or behind you or in front of you, could be the person that is going to make your life possible, who's going to change your life, who's going to introduce you to the wife or the person of your life. You have no idea. So it's very important. I always made it a point. My kids say, "You're very friendly." When we used to walk around our neighborhood, I always made it a point of saying hi to everybody, to the point that all my kids walk around, they go, "Hi, good morning, good afternoon," because they saw the way I did it. And I made it a point to know people. I'm not the most outgoing guy. We all wear a mask. And my mask, people who don't know me well will tell you, "Oh, Mike is the most outgoing guy I know." George will tell you, "I'm an introvert. I'm not the most outgoing guy. I can put on a show when I have to because I'm a sales guy. But I am not a guy who is outgoing. It's difficult for me. To do this, she knows that I practice for 2 days. It's important. Why? Because each one of you is important. Each one of you is. And if one of you walks away with one idea, one speck of information that helps you turn your life in a direction where it clicks, I'm happy. There is a sense of gratitude that I have in my life for what I have been able to achieve. And 2 years ago, you guys watch TED Talks? So I was watching, I love to go through TED Talks on Friday. So I went to TED Talks, and they have all topics. So those topics go into everything from science to motivation to you name it, they have the topics. And there was one that had to do with the arts. I really had not much interest in that. Pardon Monsignor for saying that. I went into it, and it had to do with film. And I put it on. And it made such an impact on me that I watch it every week because it grounds me. So if you don't mind devoting, it's my time, so I guess I can give it up, 9 minutes and 33 seconds. Do you mind playing that video?
Hi, everybody. I feel like I'm at a revival. This is great. It's great to be back in my old stomping grounds of San Francisco. When I graduated UCLA, I moved to Northern California, and I lived in a little town called Elk on the Mendocino coast. And I didn't have a phone or TV, but I had US mail. And life was good back then, if you could remember it. I'd go to the general store for a cup of coffee and a brownie, and I'd ship my film to San Francisco, and lo and behold, 2 days later, it would end up on my front door, which was way better than having to fight the traffic of Hollywood. I didn't have much money, but I had time and a sense of wonder. So I started shooting time-lapse photography. It would take me a month to shoot a 4-minute roll of film, because that's all I could afford. I've been shooting time-lapse flowers continuously, non-stop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for over 30 years. And to see them move is a dance I'll never get tired of. Their beauty immerses us with color, taste, touch. It also provides a third of the food we eat. Beauty and seduction is nature's tools for survival because we protect what we fall in love with. It opens our hearts and makes us realize we are a part of nature and we're not separate from it. When we see ourselves in nature, it also connects us to every one of us because it's clear that it's all connected in one. When people see my images, a lot of times they'll say, "Oh my God." Have you ever wondered what that meant? The "oh" means it caught your attention. It makes you present, makes you mindful. The "my" means it connects with something deep inside your soul. It creates a gateway for your inner voice to rise up and be heard. And God is that personal journey we all want to be on, to be inspired, to feel like we're connected to a universe that celebrates life. Did you know that 80% of the information we receive comes through our eyes? And if you compare light energy to musical scales, it would only be 1 octave that the naked eye could see, which is right in the middle. And aren't we grateful for our brains that can, take this electrical impulse that comes from light energy to create images in order for us to explore our world? And aren't we grateful that we have hearts that can feel these vibrations in order for us to allow ourselves to feel the pleasure and the beauty of nature? Nature's beauty is a gift that cultivates appreciation and gratitude. So I have a gift I want to share with you today, a project I'm working on called Happiness Revealed. And it'll give us a glimpse into that perspective from the point of view of a child and an elderly man of that world.
when I watch TV, it's just some shows that are pretend. And when you explore, you get more imagination than you already had. And when you get more imagination, it makes you want to go deeper in, so you can get more and see beautiful things. Like the path. If it's a path, it could lead you to a beach or something, and it could be beautiful.
You think this is just another day in your life? It's not just another day. It's the one day that is given to you today. It's given to you. It's a gift. It's the only gift that you have right now, and the only appropriate response is gratefulness. If you do nothing else but to cultivate that response to the great gift that this unique day is, if you learn to respond as if it were the first day in your life and the very last day, then you will have spent this day very well. Begin by opening your eyes and be surprised that you have eyes you can open. That incredible array of colors that is constantly offered to us for pure enjoyment. Look at the sky. We so rarely look at the sky. We so rarely note how different it is from moment to moment with clouds coming and going. We just think of the weather, and even of the weather we don't think of all the many nuances of weather. We just think of good weather and bad weather. This day, right now, is unique weather. Maybe a kind that will never exactly in that form come again. The formation of clouds in the sky will never be the same that is right now. Open your eyes, look at that. Look at the faces of people whom you meet. Each one has an incredible story behind their face. A story that you could never fully fathom. Not only their own story, but the story of their ancestors. We all go back so far. And in this present moment, on this day, all the people you meet, all that life from generations and from so many places all over the world, flows together and meets you here like a life-giving water if you only open your heart and drink. Open your heart to the incredible gifts that civilization gives to us. You flip a switch and there is electric light. You turn a faucet and there is warm water and cold water and drinkable water. It's a gift that millions and millions in the world will never experience. So these are just a few of an enormous number of gifts to which we can open your heart. And so I wish you that you will open your heart to all these blessings and let them flow through you. That everyone whom you will meet on this day will be blessed by you. Just by your eyes, by your smile, by your touch, just by your presence. Let the gratefulness overflow into blessing all around you. And then it will really be a good day.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, what does this have to do with business? So, I think it's important. This video, when I saw it, to me was important. It was important because I wasn't always humble. I wasn't always grateful. You know, it was a series of accidents that humbled me. It was the health challenges that made me grateful. And what this means to me at the end of each workday, when I have a full day of great people that work with me, not George, of course, but it gives me a lot of BS of how good I am or how smart I am. And I know that's BS. Maybe they really believe it, but I don't want it to get into my head. I used to, the reason I didn't finish college was because I was drafted into the Army in 1972. And instead of being drafted, I had a choice. If I was drafted, they could assign me to what they call MOS, which is really whatever military assignment they wanted you to go to. But if you volunteered, you had to do an extra year, and you picked your own assignment. So I've always been afraid of heights. So I volunteered to be a paratrooper. I still don't understand it. I'm still afraid of heights today after jumping 47 times out of C-130, C-147s, and C-141s, and Chinook's helicopters. I'm still afraid of heights. I still have a hard time stepping up to a balcony and looking down. But there was one sergeant, you know, they call him a jump master. There's a sergeant inside the plane who, as you get to the door and the light goes from red to green, and you see your turn, you start shuffling towards the door, and when you get to the door and you make a sharp right and you grab the door, taps you on the rear and he goes, go. And this sergeant used to have a saying. And he said, before we got on the airplane, he used to say, the biggest and most powerful weapon you have is the 6 inches of gray matter between your ears. It wasn't an automatic machine gun. It wasn't like, it's up here. What a weapon is it that we have up here? And we've done very well. Look, you know, George mentioned that we have sold companies and capitalized in over $1 billion. We have been 80% owners of every one of those companies. We invest our own money. We have 28 limited partners. They're all friend. On the document, it says they cannot ask for financial statements. They cannot call me to ask how the companies are doing. I have the right to fire, hire, throw them out, buy them out. It has never happened, but they're my friends and they trust me. So we do small deals. But it can get to you after a while. People start believing their own BS and their own PR. And this movie grounds me. So we have, in our business, I said, look, you know, how do I get here when I was here? When I started? Well, I started with sacrificing delayed gratification. How much time do I have left? Because I know that, did I surpass it? Okay, I'm okay. So sacrificing, what do I remember as a kid, maybe not a kid, as a teenager, hammering on nails on plywood. And I must have done 50, 70 nails. I don't remember one single nail that it hit, except the time that I missed the nail. And I hit my thumb. I can tell you exactly today at what angle that nail was at, where my thumb was, and where the hammer was going. Adversity defines you. Sacrifice defines you. I don't remember any of the 100 shots with that hammer. I remember that one. When I went to high school, I got accepted to fine Jesuit school in New York City, same as Roger. And I was given a scholarship to go to class. So I got home, I was very excited to tell my dad that I got a scholarship to go to this great school. My dad is a man of a 6th grade education, a farmer, a working man in a general store, who had built a series of small little sandwich shops in a small town where I lived in Cuba. And he was a very proud man, self-made. And I said, Papi, I got a scholarship at the school. And he asked me, is it because of your grades? And I said, no, because I'm a minority. He says, do they give that to everybody? He says, well, 3 of us got it. A guy named Franklin Caesar, he's an African American. A guy named Al Roker, who's a NBC weatherman today, and I. And he put his fork down on the table and tells me, stand up. Well, you know that look that parents give, or you give now as parents to your own kids. I stood up, and he said, you're not missing an arm. You're not missing a leg. Here's the deal. You want to go to that school? Yes, Papi. Yes, you get a job. You pay half of the tuition, I pay the other half. For my 4 years in high school, I worked at the New York Psychiatric Institute, cleaning animal cages in the experimental animals on the 19th floor. And from 3 to 9 p.m., and on weekends, I worked at the American Museum of Natural History, selling plastic dinosaurs, keychains, all the little stuff. I appreciate my high school education as much as many people appreciate their PhD, because it came hard and it came at a price. I could not go to proms, I could not go to basketball games, I could not go to parties, while all my other friends were going to it. So sacrifice and delayed gratification, it's the price that you pay to accomplish something. Last night, Christopher, our 10-year-old, said, hey, we had a deal. For every tooth that I lost, you're going to give me $100. And I said, $100? He goes, well, that's what I got for the tooth fairy when the first one fell out, and Mom gave me $100 for the second one when that one came out. And they extracted 4 teeth. Look. So I said, okay, $20. He goes, no, that's not fair. I said, how come? He says, you gave me $100 for the other 2. I said, yeah, but you were 7 and 8. Now you're 10. What are you going to do around the house? And I'll pay you $100 for each tooth, but you have to earn it. So this weekend, he's working around the house, and he will work around the house the same way as we have a ranch, and he has to clean stalls where we keep our horses. We make him work, so he appreciates it. Sacrifice is very important. Urgency, a sense of urgency. Something happened to me in the Army that should not happen to most people, but it happened to me at age 19. I jumped out of one of those airplanes, and the parachute doesn't open properly. Now, when you do, in the military, when you do a combat jump, you jump at 1,250 feet. So there's not a lot of going around and flying. It doesn't work at 1,250 feet. So immediately, you have enough training, you start deploying your reserve, and the reserve was deployed. It was maybe 300-400 feet above the ground, but when I came down hard. So I had hairline fractures in both ankles. I suffer from weak ankles today because of that. About a month or 2 later, maybe a year later, don't recall, I realized that I came that close to losing my life. And I developed a real good habit. Forget about 3-year business plans or 5-year business plans, as they will normally teach you. I had a business plan that was only till next Monday. And my goal was to do what anybody could do, but do it faster. I never achieved it, but I achieved more than I ever expected, and I normally beat everybody else to it. So it instilled in me a sense of urgency that I still have today. I can't stand still. I was involved with some political events recently that is I will not talk about, and Constance was in our house in Park City, Utah, with Christopher. I stayed behind because I had to work for George, and on Thursday, I got off this political adventure. On Friday evening, I called her and I said, I know what I'm doing. I have some free time. He goes, what? He goes, I'm going to walk 500 miles again this summer. You barely came back alive last time you did it a year ago. I said, I'm going to walk it, but we're going to do something else. We're going to raise $25 to $50 million for juvenile diabetes. How are you going to do that? He says, I got it all figured out. I got Ray Allen's son has juvenile diabetes. JJ, James Jones, his best friend, he'll come. Shane Battier, here he's not getting along with the heat, so he's going to retire, so I'll drag him along. So I talked to another friend, David Lawrence, and 2 other friends, and now we are off to a new adventure. And I'm telling Constance, I'm going to go off. I don't know how this is going to happen, but what has happened between that Easter break a couple of weeks ago and now is, and David got a memo on it, or a copy of an email this morning, is we have Ray Allen, we have Shane, we have James Jones. I get home last night, and I tell Constance, the 3 guys are going to join us, good friends. Who are they? You promised me it was just you and I. And she said, no, because that's what happened last year. You told me I could go, and then because of the rain, I could not go, and I've been planning all year, hopefully, to do it with you. So, gosh, plan B. Okay. So this morning, I emailed Ray Allen, said, are you on the plane yet? And he says, no. I said, call me. So he calls me back. He said, look, forget about you guys and I just being the first. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go the first week with Constance, start in France, go all the way to the town of Estella, which will be 2 weeks. But instead of going to Estella, I will stop in Constance and Pamplona. That's about 5 days. You guys fly into Pamplona, and I'll go back to France with you, and we'll start all over again. So now they're happy, she's happy, and David doesn't miss his schedule. You're happy. So, sense of urgency. And that conversation on that Friday, she says, can you not stand still? And I said, no, I can't. I got to be doing something. And when it comes to business, it's the same way. Often, paralysis by analysis. I go, guys, just make a decision. I've started 24 companies in my life. I have failed 24 times. Not one of the 24 companies turned out to be what I thought it was going to be. But not one of them failed. Because you cannot just design a plan and expect life to go along with you. You design a plan is going to be full of zigzags, and you have to be able to adjust. And you see opportunities where you did not see them before you started down that path. So 24 companies later, I have failed 24 times. In that process, we have made $1.5 billion. Call me loser. But you have to adjust to life with a sense of urgency. If you don't like what you do, don't do it. We say that at meetings, in management meetings all the times. If you're not happy, get out of it. Get out of it. Find what makes you happy. You remember that video that you saw where, I think he had the accent, I can't point it, but he says you got one life. That applies to each of us. One life. Are you going to be relevant or not? The fact that you're here, I said it earlier, you want to be relevant. The point is, do you want to be slightly relevant or you want to be significantly relevant in life? And the call is yours. Whether you succumb to laziness, where you're distracted, but you find your way back, get back on that road, you can be relevant. But you can only if you have a passion for what you do. I go to work every day. You guys who were at my house the other day, one of you guys said, do you ever leave this place? And I said, every morning. Where do you go? The office. It's what I like to do. I like to interact with George, with Marcia, with my partners. I've known George for 26 years. I love what I do. Lourdes, my assistant, has been with me for 23 years. She knows more about me than Constance and I put together because she has a memory of an elephant. So you have to enjoy what you do. Execution. You know, we're taught about execution has different levels. To me, it's execution of the basic details. So our 10-year-old goes to see our 17-year-old, who's now 18, working for UM, playing basketball actually on the UM team. Great kid. You know, straight A student, basketball walk-on. He doesn't have the height nor the speed, but he makes it. And of all the walk-ons this year, he's the only one that was allowed to stay on the team. And I spoke with the coach, and he says he's the hardest working kid on the team. So he makes the other guys look bad. So he pushes them. So they keep him because he forces them. And so I took him out to dinner, and I said, Michael, are you not tired of not playing? He goes, no, Pops. I'm okay. You know what my job on the team is? I may not get to play much, but I get everybody else to play better. Great kid. Execution. So we go to Michael's basketball game, Christopher, Constance, and I, and we own a company called Navarro's. So as we pass one Navarro, I turn into the into a parking space. I say, come on, Christopher, let's go inside. Constance locked the door. So go inside, and I go straight to the bathroom. Open up the door, look around, come out, says, ready to go. So we're walking out the door, and Christopher says, what are we going to buy? I said, nothing. He says, what did you do? I said, I looked at the bathroom. He says, why was that important? I said, because if the bathroom is not clean, and the toilet paper is not proper, and the sink is dirty, then the manager is ignoring everything else that is more important than the bathroom is. So the little details do matter. In my life, more so than the big details. I haven't been to a management meeting since 1992 for any of the companies that we owned. But I listen to customer service calls 20 minutes a week. So I can go to any of those companies and tell them exactly what I know I heard from the customer, that is what is not working. And they get paid a lot of money to make sure it works right. So execution of the details. If you get all of those things in order, you will succeed. If you're willing to sacrifice, if you're willing to put gratification back for a future day. When I was out of the Army, 22, I think I wanted a brand new Corvette. I sure did. Instead, I got a used Honda Accord. I was making $287 a month. Maybe that's why. Don't allow anyone to define you. When I came to this country, 8th grade or maybe it was 9th grade, I was given an aptitude test, and my IQ was below normal. It could have been because it is below normal, or it could have been because my language skills were not where they should have been. So the school counselor suggested that I focus on a career as a fireman or a policeman because I needed to be in a highly structured environment. Now, he just laid out that glass ceiling that we talk about. The glass ceiling that people choose to believe that they have. Guys, high school graduate, 1 semester of college, I chose not to believe it. And I went ahead and I did what I thought I wanted to do. I would not allow anyone to define you. No one can define you. You define yourself. The gray matter between your ears is the one that makes you what you are or not. But it is your decision, it's your call as to how you want to get there, if you want to get there. 2 things. The grass is always greener on the other side. How many of you have heard that? It isn't. It isn't. Where did that video, where did he say he was filming that? Was it near San Francisco? It wasn't Hollywood. Grass is greener where you are. Supplant yourself from here, where you have a lifetime of relationships in this community, if you have worked at it, to another city. You got to start from scratch. And 50% of what you do is going to be people that you know, of how fast you're going to get there. So you have to take advantage of the relationships, of the people, of the knowledge of the community that you have. You have to. Don't buy it. You know, I have a nephew that says, it's always moving from town to town. Oh, there's a better job in Portland. There's a better job in Seattle. There's no better job. You make your own job. There's a choice. You can be an employee. You can be very happy being an employee. Or you can be an entrepreneur. You can be self-employed. But it's your choice. Grass is greener where you want to make it green. Have a plan that is unreachable. My first wife and I had an apartment when I moved to Miami on Coral Way and 97th Avenue in a place called Greenbrier Apartment. And the rent was under $200 a month. I used to drive into a new development called Coco Plum on Sundays. So every Sunday we'd go to Coco Plum. And she got tired after 2 or 3 Sundays going to Coco Plum. She said, what are we doing here? I said to her, I'm going to live here someday. She talked me into going to a psychiatrist. I'm not kidding. I went to a psychiatrist because I said, this can't be right. Maybe she's right. Gosh, her dad is a dentist. Her mother's a doctor. She comes from Havana. I'm the poor guy from the country. Maybe she's right. Maybe I'm... Well, I went to the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist told me to lower my expectations. I chose to ignore it. This is a sad story. 4 years later, I'm reading the Miami Herald. That psychiatrist committed suicide. And his wife was interviewed by the reporter, and her comment was that he never lived up to his potential. And he was frustrated because of that. Identify mistakes quickly. If you make a mistake, don't drag it out. I hate to say this. My first divorce took me a week to settle. My second divorce took me 2 weeks to settle. It was over. It was done. Get it over with, even in the personal life. Get it over with and move on. Don't dwell on it. It's a mistake. Move on. The same thing in business. If we've made a mistake, recognize it. You've tried everything you can to fix it. Move on. The market tells you whether you're right or wrong. The free market will tell you whether you're right or wrong. Bureaucrats normally do not create wealth. So the market tells you. So if we're going down the path in building a company, it's not working, move on, change products. If we're producing widgets, produce something else, because it's not working. So we tend to make very rapid changes. By the way, is how we have built niche markets. We normally do not compete in the companies that we sell. We normally, and that we build and sell, we normally do not compete with our big competitors head on. We find niche markets. And those niche markets then are wanted by the big guys because they didn't see it or they were too occupied taking care of their big business. We've never taken a company public. It was never my goal to take a company public. It was always my goal to sell our companies to a public company. So a few years ago, George and our 2 other partners were talking, and one of them identified HIV/AIDS as a potential market. We have insurance experience. And we did some analytical work, about 6 months worth of it. And we could have done 3 years' worth of analysis. And after 6 months, we said, okay, is it worth it? Flip a coin. It's going to be yes or no. Yes, flip the coin. That's how we decided to get into the HIV business. We flipped the coin. We went into it. We thought it would be important to get somebody who could guide us because neither 4 of us is infected with HIV. So we sought out, I caught Pat Riley, who's a friend, and no, actually, that's not the story. That's another story, how I got to know Magic Johnson, but we don't have the time for that today. And Pat put me together with Irvin. Irvin, as the old commercial says, liked the company so much he wanted to buy it. So we sold him 3% of the company. But now he was the face, he was the spokesperson, and that accelerated the growth. That company went from $38 million of revenues 4 years ago next month to $1.1 billion of revenues this year. Went from losing $1.8 million to making $67 million in 4 years. We will probably sell that company this year or next year. Our process is, we know our exit. We know that we invested $23 million 4 years ago. We know we're going to get between $500 and $1 billion in the next 7 months. So we'll be in and out. The big guys with the big companies, God bless them. I hope they keep growing and hope they have a lot of money in their balance sheets so they can pay us whatever we need. Love what you do. It goes back to have a passion. And by the way, you need somebody with you who puts up with you. Because being ADD or being driven, it's a blessing and a curse. So if your partner does not understand you, it's a problem. So you have to make sure that your partner understands. Doesn't mean she has to understand the business. In my case, she happens to have a degree in finance. So she understands the business. But she understands you. That this is what you want, and this is the price that you're willing to pay because you are, I'll say me. I always thought of myself as a provider. So I needed to be a provider. She had to understand that. Self-awareness. You have to be self-aware if you're going to be a leader. You need to be fulfilled and committed engagement in whatever you do. Don't do things halfway. Ingenuity. We never invented the iPhone. We always borrowed an idea from somebody else and made it better. Because there was too much risk and too much capital involved in trying to create something from scratch. It takes a lot less capital to change it just a bit. Going back to this word keeps happening over and over again. Love. Engaging others with a positive and loving attitude. If you go to my office, or I will tell you what happens when Constance calls my office. Many times she will say, I can't believe you guys are working. Because there's laughter. Everybody's having a good time. Everybody's kidding around. You know, yesterday it was my shoes. Constance gets me a new pair of shoes, and I'm walking around and I go, quick, 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 quick. So this morning, so George says, hey, I have a shoe just like that. So this morning I had to change shoes because those shoes were not good enough. But we have a good time. Doesn't mean we don't work. We all enjoy what we do, and we're very blessed that we found, you know, three of the four, because the other brother stays at home and drink wine and have a good life. He only comes to work when we need him. But the three of us, we enjoy what we do, and we travel together. We did actually we were doing a deal, and we were raising $180 million. So we started in I guess in France first, but we had to start on Monday, so we had the weekend. I said to Constance, hey, George, Marcia, and I are going to Paris for the weekend. She goes, what? He goes, yeah, the three of us are going to go to Paris for the weekend. So terrible weather. We were locked up in the room Saturday and Sunday. But we had a great time. Now, talking about squeaky shoes, so it's pouring rain. Marcio, who's the nuttier of the three, says, hey, let's go to Notre Dame. Let's go see the cathedral. Marcio's raining outside. Says, it's okay, we can make it. It's only about 2 blocks away. Monsignor is not 2 blocks away from the Eiffel Tower. It's like 2 miles away. So we get there and we're soaked. Marcio, because it wasn't supposed to be a play weekend, is wearing his sneakers. So everybody's inside the cathedral because it's raining outside. George and I are sitting in a pew, but we knew exactly where Marcio was because of his sneakers. Quick, 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 quick. Guide and energizing others. You know, a leader is defined not by what they do, but how they get there. Shortcuts don't count. And don't ask, and this is really true, don't ask somebody to do something you're not willing to do yourself. When we had this award ceremony for the J. Molina Award last week, towards the end, everybody else had gone, and it was just my kids, my wife, Ray's wife, Shannon Allen, Pat Riley, and a couple. So we're all just chatting because everybody else has left, and they're already cleaning the tables. So right behind me, I noticed that there's a lady, young woman, early 30s, and she's trying to get this tray full of glasses, plates, whatever it is. So I turn away and I said, "Can I help you?" And she goes, "No, I'll do it." I said, "No, let me help you. You get that end, I'll get this other end." So then one of her co-workers comes in and takes my part, and I go back. And Shannon says, That's what I love about you. You're always willing to give a hand. You got to set the example. I never leave my office before I ask somebody, is there something that I can do for you? 99% of the time is, no, thank you. And the one time they said, well, I have a box. Let me help you. Take it to your car. That's leadership. It's not, leadership doesn't happen when you say, I'm the leader, follow me. It doesn't happen. It happens when you see something that is happening and you think you have to do something about it and you step up and people follow you. That's when it really happens. It's ordering people to follow you normally does not work long term. Our motto, I have this poster in my office. That poster in my office, I've had from the time it was this big to now I just had it blown up that is a big giant poster. You can find it on the internet, put mouse with helmet and trap, and this thing would pop up if you put images. And I look at it, I go, you know that mouse is, it's each one of us. And we all face challenges. And this education that you're getting is that helmet that you have there. And that cheese is your future. That trap is everything that is going to get in your way. The question is, are you willing to put your head out? Because just hoping that something happens doesn't make it happen. You got to make it happen. Go back to my selling of that division that I sold to my wife's former company. I could have just walked away from that table. I took a risk and she shut me down, but it paid off 30 days later. You think I would have been embarrassed if she said, like she did? Yeah, I was. But I went back to business. And on we go. You have to take the risk. It's the risk reward, there's a direct correlation to it. It is part of life. In summary, embrace failure. It is a teaching, educational experience. Give of yourself. We will take this hike this year because I will do the first part twice, once with my wife and the other one with the 3 basketball musketeers. I will do 540 some odd miles over 40-something days. 2 heart attacks, cancer. My doctor, cardiologist, told me, don't do it. I said, come on, I'm going to drop dead. The last 2 were sitting on my desk. I'd rather drop dead out in the mountains. So I'm going to go. I'm still here, and I'm going to go again, 3rd time. And this time I'm going to go with friends who can bring my body back, hopefully. You going to bring it back? Give of yourself. Every time we have sold the company, we have shared the proceeds with employees. When we sold the company, the only time that it became public was when actually an employee called the Miami Herald to say that they had received the bonus because the company had been sold, that it was 1 year's salary. We set aside $27 million last time in that company, and that $27 million was given to every employee in the company. One of the employees happened to be the receptionist, and she received 3 times her salary. It's because of the contribution they make to the company. You know, what price can you put on someone who never misses work? It's the face of the company because it's the first one that smiles to everybody every day. It could be grouchy, it could be happy, and this lady was fantastic. So when discussing it with other managers, they say, well, it's unfair to give her 3 years' salary. I say, well, that's unfortunately I'm the majority shareholder. We're going to do it that way. Give of yourself to your community. Give back. Offer help. Talked about offering people whenever you have something to give. Look, you have blessed me by allowing me to talk to you today. I'm not a professional speaker. My fee obviously reflects that. So I told you, what I told you were true life experiences of someone who has been through the grind, and well, the output has been through that grind. It wasn't easy. It was hard. It was rewarding. It was learning. It was being relevant versus irrelevant. It's helping people. It's helping that lady in the operating room waiting for her son to come out from open heart surgery the third time. It was that money, by the way, that we raised from Miami Children's Hospital was earmarked to go to families who could not afford coverage or the copayment or the insurance deductibles like her. So give back. You'll be surprised how addictive it is to give back. You feel better. There are times today that I don't know if I give because selfishly it makes me feel better as much as the recipient is receiving. It feels darn good to be able to help people, and other people may just walk by and you see an opportunity. By the way, something, and I'll close on this. When I was walking in Spain, I had the opportunity to do a couple of things. One of them is I read in the newspaper about a child that actually sent the article to David that had a, I guess, a condition that she could not ingest nutrients. So she had to be fed through a hole in her stomach. So I was in a position that I could help that child. Why? Because when you're doing this walk, there's a sense of everyone's doing good. And I was in a position that I could do good. I also ended up buying a taxi for a taxi driver who was a woman who could not afford it, and she was working for somebody else. And I ended up buying a taxi for a taxi driver for a person that I will never see again in my life. The great thing about it is, by the way, her comment, and David knows this, is when she realizes what I am doing and they're giving her the keys to that car, she says, I've always believed in miracles, but never met an angel. So you'll be surprised how good it feels to do good. Thank you for putting up with me. I greatly appreciate it.